It's the Abba podcast. Let's go. We're live here on the Abba podcast with a special guest. We're at the home of Joe Lopez, head coach of Alexander Volkanovski. Joe, how we going, mate?
Yeah, good, thanks. Thanks for having me on.
No, thank you for having us, mate. So we're here at Freestyle MMA. Speak to us a bit about the gym, your home.
Yeah, well, we've been here for a while. How can I say? I guess I just take it for granted. It's just a place where people come and train, improve their lives, maybe become a champion.
So talking about a champion, we've got a champion in the house who just finished training, Alexander the Great Volkanovski. Tell us a bit about Alexander, the gym. What does it mean to you to have a champion in the gym? And is he like anyone else in the gym?
Yeah, he's just like everybody else. You know, he gets to sweep the floor, he gets abused. There's no favourites at this place. Everyone gets abused equally. I don't discriminate, so it's part of your membership. When you come here, you're guaranteed to get abused.
So the abuse is something that I see. It's a back and forth battle on the social medias. We've got trials here on the 5th and the 6th of February. So for people that are looking towards turning pro or to taking their career to the next level, what is something that they have to show in the application, which we'll show in the video at the link below? What are the values that someone that wants to be a fighter needs to have to be a member at Freestyle MMA?
Well, probably the most important thing is that they've got to have the right attitude and they've got to be consistent. There's a lot of people out there that say they want to be a fighter, but you've got to be able to put in the work, and people like Alex or Colby or any of the other fighters that we've got here, that's the difference. They're here every day, twice, 3 times a day, putting the hours in on the mat, and that's what makes a champion, and it's not how good you are on your good days, it's how good you perform on your bad days, and these guys, no matter what happens, they're here and they always put 100% in, and again, the results then show for themselves.
So yeah, the gym's proven. We've got the only Australian world champion who bases himself out of freestyle MMA. So there's no secret to other than hard work here.
Yeah, that's right. And look, we're pretty fortunate that we get to have, a lot of fighters from other gyms now have started to come here and do their camps and train out of here. So it's lifted the whole, how could I say, the energy and I guess the skill level of the gym, because we've got so many high level guys coming here and training, especially here on a Saturday. We get from all over the place, from interstate, everywhere. COVID slowed a lot of things down for us, but hopefully we can get through it and we can get it back to some normality, where we can sort of train a bit more normal. Where at the moment, it's all invitational and all the other stuff that we've got to go through just to stay alive here,
Yeah, it's tough times in COVID. Like, all gyms would like to say that we're world class, world championship level, but you guys are actually, the proof's in the pudding. You've got Alexander Volkanovski, you've got Colby, and you've got the likes that are coming up through the gym. So what are we looking at in this new generation? We're looking at applications, we're looking at people to come in. What do they need to show to get that edge? Maybe that person that's looking to send through the application is looking to see, how am I going to get Joe's attention? What's your say there?
Well, look, the number one thing is that they've got to be fit, so I'm going to be really checking on their fitness level. I know that's something you can achieve without being here, but if you've got some sort of level of fitness, that's just going to carry you through, because you can be the most skillful person in the world, but if you've got no fitness, your skill level's soon going to show all its faults. So I'm going to be looking at their fitness, again, like I said before, their attitude, their skill set, obviously, what they can bring to the table, whether they've got good wrestling, jiu-jitsu or striking. But the most important, I want them to be a team player and see how they interact with all the other guys in the team, because even though this is an individual sport, it really relies on having a really good solid team of guys you can train and move forward together, and that's what we've got here, and I just want to build on that. And also just I was hoping to do a show later on this year, and yeah, just showcase a couple of these guys that do the tryouts to give them, to fight in front of their hometown or just here in front of the Wollongong crowd. We always draw a big crowd. Again, a lot of it's going to rely on what happens in the future. We thought we were out of the woods a couple of weeks ago, and then, man, look it can easily change at the drop of a hat. So we're in such uncertain times, and yeah, it makes everything not as easy. And I guess we appreciate what we did have.
Yeah, tell me about it. You don't know what you have until you lose it.
Yeah.
So basically, from what I'm understanding is, send through your trials, send through your videos, no matter what your level of experience is, and if you're persistent and you're going to fit the model of freestyle MMA, there will be opportunities later on, even if you fall short in this application process, to potentially get a fight in front of your hometown to prove your worth. Because at the end of the day, if you do adhere to the standards of the gym, you find your way into the gym.
Yeah, and look, at the moment, I've been pretty, how can you say, we've had so many applicants, and the big thing is that we've had so many interstate guys, applying to come here. Guys want to pack up and move here and train with us, which to me is like a huge boost. I guess in, how could I say, the words come out.
It's something that they're willing to sacrifice for.
Yeah, it's a bit of an honour for me. That's the probably word, that people want to come down here and trust in what we're doing here and move the whole families and everything down here to train with us. And it's a big thing. Pre-COVID, we had a lot of guys coming in from America. We had guys from all over the world coming here, but to train. Like I said, I'm just hoping that things do clear up and we can get back to some normality.
Yeah, like we've said, the proof's in the pudding. This is a world championship gym. Don't be mistaken. You're coming in to a gym that has the only UFC current world champion in Alexander Volkanovski. The talent that's coming through is keeping him on his toes and at the top. So to be a part of the gym, you need to be at that level. So anyone that wants to sacrifice, ultimately, they're coming into something that's proven. It's not something that, they're not taking a chance here, Joe.
Yeah, and look, having Alex here, it's a big part, but we get, Jamie Malaki, Josh, we get most, Tyson Pedro, Arlene. We're getting like a really lot of high-level guys coming here and training out of here, and a lot of them, like I said before, are choosing to do their fight camps out of here, which is, like I said, a big honour for me. And what we're doing here, that we're getting the results. And like I said, I'd like to just share this with a few other, there might be somebody there like Alex was one day, had a dream, came here, and together we did it, and I'd just like to do that for a few more people.
Joe, you mate, the proof's in the pudding. Your resume speaks for itself. The opportunity you granted Alex is something that people shouldn't be looking over. Because tell us a bit about that. So Alex comes in, pre-season rugby league, and what do you see from this talent?
Well, how could I say? When he first came down here, he was just like anybody else. He was. Alex has always been a really nice guy. He's always had a good heart, and I mean, the backstory to it was he was just getting, like I said, getting ready for his pre-season footy, and we had an open day here with some sparring, and he chose to come along, and I had a heavyweight guy, fighter, and there was another local heavyweight guy here who'd had, I think, 5 fights, 5 wins, and he was the local up-and-coming, big star, and his trainer put Alex in with him in the first round, just in here. This was the old cage, and I was up there gloving the other guy up, and I couldn't get to the cage because I wanted my guy to have a few rounds with these guys, and then Alex hadn't sparred before, so I didn't want him to throw him into the wolves, as you'd say. But before I got to here, Alex had submitted the guy, and then he submitted him again. In the course of a 5-minute round, Alex submitted the guy like 3 times. And they did a couple of more rounds, and Alex was just dominating everybody here that day. And then after the spar, I said, "Mate, have you ever thought about having a fight?" And he said to me, "Yeah, it's always been a dream of mine to have a fight." And then the rest is history, I guess.
The rest is history. So from there, you go on to your journey together, you and Alex, at this gym as your base. You break through into the UFC. As a coach, did you know that this fella is world championship level, or did you think that there's still things you needed to work on?
Oh, look, we're still working on things now, so that never stops. We're always working on new things. We always had, and Alex said it in his first fight, and a lot of people sort of laughed at him. And our dream was always to get into the UFC and then fight for the belt, win the belt, and now our next part of the journey is to build a legacy, which we're slowly doing, you know. And that was our goal right from the beginning, you know. It wasn't just to get into the UFC, it was to get that title. And we both had that same dream and goal, and you know, we've been lucky enough that we've been able to achieve it, you know.
So the dream became a reality, guys. Yeah. So look, anyone that's sending through the application, the proof's in the pudding. Not only with Alex, with only the up and growing talent that's up here in Wollongong, they've been through the top. We've started from in this cage. He took on a heavyweight. He goes on to become UFC champion, and now you got to keep watching for Alex space because he's not done yet, eh, Joe?
No. Hopefully we'll be releasing some news shortly of his up and coming fight. Yeah, we're just in sort of negotiations at the moment, so hopefully soon we'll be able to sort of release some news.
Hey, beautiful, Joe. That'll be an honour, mate. Joe, what's the chances we're getting it to Australia, mate? We need a crowd. We need to get the country behind Alex.
Look, the UFC, look, we've had discussions with the UFC, and there's nothing more than they'd love to bring it here to Australia. The big thing is the quarantine, you know, having fighters to quarantine, and then you got to think the UFC isn't just, you know, Dana White. He's probably, at each show there's probably 1,000 blokes working, I reckon. You know, when you're talking about, you know, the production and all the crew, and man, there's so many people behind the scenes. Now to get 1,000, or maybe it's too many, but there's a lot of people work there, to have all of them quarantined as well for 2 weeks is a lot, you know. But I know that they really want to do it. If they can get around this quarantining, they do it in a heartbeat.
Look, I think the economy needs it. The tourism industry has dropped. I think the government's got to get behind it, get in the exemptions, make sure that it's, you know, Fight Island can do it, Australia can do it. We are the home of the great Alexander Volkanovski, and we'll bring it back here, back to the gym, Joe. So you continued, you rode the wave with him, right? And as a coach, it's very hard for other coaches to be open to their fighter going to other gyms. What's the relationship between Freestyle MMA and City Kickboxing Gym in New Zealand?
Well, look, I've known the City Kickboxing guys from, a lot of them were at Tiger when we were doing our camps at Tiger, and they were like our, say, core group of training partners that we would train with together every day. And, you know, we built a friendship, and that's where, like I said, good training partners are such an important part, where they're pushing you to the limit, that they're not hurting you, you know, because you can't go that far. And you've got to be able to trust those guys not to do that. And yeah, like I said, we've just, how can I say that? They're more like, you know, very good friends and sort of family now.
So basically, City Kickboxing is a cousin of the family here at Freestyle MMA. So you guys are like a family. You branch out to people that are like-minded. You're always willing to grow and learn and to get in the new talent here.
Yeah. And I mean, look, Hugh June, and I get a lot of flack from people here and everywhere else saying, I mean, even Hugh June brings it up to me, you know, and says, does it worry? But honestly, those sort of things don't worry me, you know. To me, as a coach, my thing is I want the best for my fighter. And to me, it's a real honour to work with those guys, hang out with those guys, and have them as friends, you know. Like, we've spent a lot of time away together, training together, you know. And like I said, we've built very, very strong friendships, you know, and it's something that when we do go into camp, it's a lot of it's just to hang out with the boys, you know, and have a bit of fun with them.
Talk about hanging out with the boys, Joe. How'd the quarantine go? I've seen that you had a bit of a health scare in quarantine last time with Alex.
Yeah. I got our wrestling coach Frank Hickman cut me with his toenail while we were wrestling, and I got a bit of staph, and then the plane ride and the long walk from, because if anyone's had to do any sort of international travel now, it's like a 2 kilometre walk from the aeroplane back to the gates. They make you, just to slow people down, I guess, so people don't bunch up. So it's such a long walk, and my leg was already sore and it just swelled up. And I got back and the doctor gave me some antibiotics and I got a little pen and I sort of drew a circle around it, and the next day it had gone outside the pen mark, so I rang the doctor and yeah, I ended up 5 days in hospital, which wasn't real good, but had to be done, you know.
Yeah, no, look, it's worse when you get those cuts from injuries or trainings and stuff like that. So we move on from the quarantine debacle. How was Max Holloway? How was that last camp, that last 2 fights? They've been razor thin. What are we doing now to make sure Alex breaks away?
Oh look, you know, Max is you know, I've got respect for all the fighters in the UFC, but I think as far as how could I say, Max is probably, I'd say Alex then Max are the two probably better fighters in that featherweight division, and then comes everybody else. So I don't think anybody's going to give the problems that Max presented himself with. But you know, I think Alex clearly won the first fight. The second fight was close, but you know, if you look back at it and you look at the stats and you look at it with no sound and just watch the fight with no distractions, you'll see that Alex clearly won that fight. You know, not taking anything away from Max, because Max put up a good fight, but I'm not being biased to it, but you know, I've looked at it from a natural point of view, unbiased point of view, I should say, and I clearly thought Alex really had won that.
Yeah, no, so Alex has got the better of both Max Holloway fights. You go to Brazil and you take down Jose Aldo, who is a legend and the king of the featherweight division. Yeah. How did that feel as a coach? As a coach, this must be something that sits up there.
Yeah, well, Brazil was an experience and a half. Brazil's a very interesting country, beautiful country, it's beautiful. People are really nice, it's just a scary sort of a place. The UFC had, officials had been robbed the last time they were there, so they were really onto us every time we went out, you know, we had to have bodyguards and everything else, because it's like I said, a beautiful place, but there's a lot of poverty and there's a lot of desperate people, and they call for desperate times, but you can't take away the beauty of the place. And then to go there and to beat Aldo, it was an experience and a half. You know, the home of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Yeah, it was good.
Talking about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, yourself, you're a black belt.
Yeah.
Talk to us, because you got into MMA before it became mainstream. Yeah. Talk to us about your passion, your drive to get into MMA, and how you ended up creating Freestyle MMA.
Oh, look, I've been doing martial arts 35, close to 40 years, you know. I built my business from, not only just teaching, but I've got a security company where I run nightclubs and pubs and all that, and I got into that because of the martial arts, because I could defend myself. And then, it's been able to, buy this place and buy everything else, and that's why I got back into it again, because I was a bit, how could I say, I was getting old and I was just getting over being in nightclubs and pubs, and I wanted to give something back to what gave me that, and that's why I bought this whole church and turned it into a gym, and to give something back, and it's something that I enjoy doing, because it's how could I say, it's not only my hobby, but it's my passion, and it's been a big part of my life for a long time, and like I said, it's paid for, got me my business and paid for everything I got. It came from, being able to defend myself and, learn martial arts. So, and to this day, I'm still learning. I still love learning new things, and I like passing things on as well.
So the boys in the gym, they're keeping you young, Joe, or what, mate? You still on your toes?
Yeah, they keep me young. Sometimes I'm not as young as I feel, but I still like to have a role in that. I'm a bit over kicking and punching bags, but I still enjoy doing BJJ. I hope to do it, till I'm in my 90s, but yeah, it's still a passion, but I can't fight Mother Nature, the body's starting to catch up.
You can't fight that, son. So look, Alexander's a brown belt in Jiu-Jitsu. So what's your opinion on how does someone, and what does someone have to do to get the black belt under Joe Lopez?
Well, look, I honestly, Alex rolls with a lot of black belts and that, and he can hold his own. to me, it's important to keep a bit of tradition, and Alex does too, because Alex could have been a black belt a while ago, but like you said, we're in camp a lot of the times and we don't get to train with the gi as much. And he says it too, to be a black belt, he's got to be a black belt not only in no gi, but he's got to be a black belt in gi as well. And look, we've been, during this last off season between our last fight and that, he's jumped back in the gi and he's starting to, it is enjoyable, and the jiu-jitsu is a little bit slower and you don't have to be as athletic, but you still need, well for me anyway, you've got to have that tradition of being able to grapple with the gi and the no gi,
So question, Joe, when you're looking at the freestyle NCAA American wrestlers and you look at the Kazakhstani wrestlers, what's the difference between freestyle wrestling and MMA wrestling?
Punching.
So punching. So that opens up the world of a difference.
Well, it does, and the same as with BJJ. You can, like you might be, Carlson Gracie said this many, many years ago. He says you fight a black belt, you hit him in the head the first time, becomes a brown belt. Hit him in the head the second time, he's a purple belt. The third time, he's a blue belt. By the fourth punch in the head, he's a white belt, just like you. And that comes with everything else. Some guys that are truly wrestling focused sometimes are not as good at MMA, and same as the BJJ guys. I mean, you've got Gillespie, who's an outstanding wrestler, and he's dominated a lot of the guys. As soon as he gets in there with somebody that has got decent wrestling and can strike, he gets beat up. You've got Andre Caval, who's one of the best jiu-jitsu guys ever. I don't know how many world and ACC championships he's got. He went into MMA and just got his butt absolutely flogged, and same as Marcelo Garcia. And they're two world-class jiu-jitsu guys who couldn't make it in the MMA world. Same as the Ribeiros. I think they had a couple of fights too, and they didn't get there. So you as a mixed martial artist, you have to have the whole package. And coming on to a few guys have said this to me over the years. They're gone, what's Alex good at? Is he a good wrestler? Is he a good striker? And I always say, what Alex is really good at? He's putting them all together. You get him just doing jiu-jitsu with jiu-jitsu guys, he can hold his own, but the jiu-jitsu guys sometimes will dominate. You get the same with the wrestling, and you get the same with the striking. You put them all together, and Alex will dominate those same people that he's just wrestled with, especially some high-level wrestler guys. I've watched him, and he struggled with them wrestling. As soon as they do MMA rounds, he just destroys them because of that striking part. Because a lot of the times you can use your punch as a post, you know what I mean? Instead of pushing the person down, you punch him down, But you've got to have the confidence and the base and everything else to do that.
So basically what we're getting, guys, Freestyle MMA applications to join the gym, 5th and 6th of February, you got to be well-rounded. You can't be one-dimensional. You can't be lacking anything, because to be in the UFC, you can't even be doing that, Joe, let alone coming into Freestyle MMA.
No, but look, to me, you might be, and look, we've got a young kid who's just started with it. We started last year, and he'd had, I think, 10... I don't know, double-digit Muay Thai fights, and he's just started here. And honestly, the kid has just picked up the wrestling and the jiu-jitsu like he'd been doing it all his life. A couple of the guys that have been here for a while are a bit pissed off with him with how quickly the kids picked it up. And again, we knew he had good striking, so we just worked on his weaknesses, and now he's brought them up, and he's on par with some of the guys that have been training here 4 or 5 years. And again, it's a lot's got to do with the kid's natural ability and his work ethic, that he wants to be here on the mat, putting that time in, and that's the only way you're going to get better.
So so that's what we're looking for basically. The 5th and 6th of February, we're looking for someone who's willing to put in the hard work, be in the gym, and to give back to the team.
Yeah, and look, they've got to be able to listen, and and they've got to want to improve. The last thing I want is, somebody who's good at jiu-jitsu and all they want to do is jiu-jitsu. They've got to improve the other aspects of their game. Doesn't mean we're going to ditch the jiu-jitsu. No, we're going to continue doing that, but we want to develop on what you're weak at and make them their stronger points as well.
So yeah, no, 100% Joe. So look, guys, 5th and 6th of February, send through your applications. Make sure that you're willing to put in the work. Come down, work with Joe and his team. And the facilities are here, Joe. The opportunities here. The proof's in the pudding. Thank you for tuning in, guys. Joe, it was a pleasure.
Thank you, sir.
Anything else you want to add on, Joe?
No, and look, if anybody ever wants to come down here, as long as you're not in a COVID hotspot now, everyone's welcome. You know, to me, the more people that come here and train, I'm a firm believer in training with all different shapes, body types, and skill levels. You know, whether you're a taekwondo or a karate-based fighter or a wrestler, to me it doesn't matter. The more bodies and the more different people we can train with, the better everyone becomes.
Yeah, no, 100% Joe. Look, it was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you very much, mate. And that's it. We're out. Cut.